Sion really is the go-to tank. And then barring that, we do see a ton of people looking at Urgot.
And I mean, Sion is just the meatball in the current state of League of Legends. If you want to be frontline for your team, there's really just no better option, period, for initiation, for laning, for CC, for the fact that pressing Stoneplate can give you 12,000 health and you're standing on a Baron. Yeah, the Darshan game yesterday. 48-minute Sion is actually just a behemoth. But this time around, we are going to see Team Liquid pick up the Akali for themselves first pick.
Okay, and this definitely can be a flex. You know, most people I think would be expecting this to go to Jensen. That is certainly more his style, but Impact definitely could be grabbing that up on the top side. Lissandra, another flex that can answer well into the Akali here. A Caitlyn is a little bit surprising. We've been seeing so few Caitlyn picks. It has almost always been ban Lucian, one guy picks Ezreal, the other guy picks Kai'Sa. So going to be exciting to see how this Caitlyn is going to be able to perform. And it always has been one of the specialties I've looked at and thought of Piglet, especially when paired alongside a ranged support. We have seen, you know, things like Caitlyn Morgana be very successful last split, used as a kind of a counter to Zyra Khan when that was in the meta. So excited to see if they can kind of shake it up a little bit and show us a new way to punish some of these lanes.
And I mean, Caitlyn is one of those champions that fits the bill for the way Piglet likes to play League of Legends, right? I remember back in the days of the Ashe Jhin bot lane meta, really was not a good look for Piglet just because those sort of more supportive AD carries were not the thing. Well, getting headshots, racking up big damage numbers, quadruple digit type of DPS, that's exactly what this guy wants to do. We'll see how well that works out for him as he will be going up against the Lee Sin and the Aatrox. Remember, Aatrox did take some nerf bat hits in 9.2.
Yeah, it definitely has. But I mean, a lot of these champions that took some nerfs have still been by far the highest priority picks in pro play. When you're looking across, you know, Cassio, Akali, Aatrox, Urgot, like all these champions, a lot of champions that took some hits are still right there at the top. Pros are extremely comfortable playing them. And whether it is that they haven't adapted and found some of the new picks that may be more powerful, or they just think that these still are the most powerful, remains to be seen. But it's going to be exciting.
And we're going to see Rumble again. We got to see this yesterday with a Dark Harvest in mid lane. And I remember talking to you a little bit about this behind the scenes. Break down the Rumble for me a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rumble mid can be very effective, but talking specifically about the Dark Harvest, I think if you're going to be going sorcery secondary anyway, so it's the sorcery plus domination combo, going for something like Comet is just kind of more effective. It's so much more early game power. Dark Harvest really has to stack up a tremendous amount before it becomes strong these days. And you can still grab Ravenous Hunter and Taste for Blood as your secondary to really grab those important runes from the domination tree. So we'll be interested to see which lane this goes to, expecting it to be Huni, and if he's going to go Comet or you know, emulate what Crown did yesterday with the Dark Harvest.
Well, with 3 picks on each side, that means we are into the second phase of the bans here, and it looks like Clutch Gaming says, hey, we got our AD carry. Let's make sure you don't have fun picking yours. They're going to remove Xayah and Kai'Sa from the table, and Camille will be eliminated by Team Liquid.
Yeah, notably, Ezreal is still up, so it very much feels like Clutch is trying to make DoubleLift pick Ezreal, and that may specifically be what the matchup they're looking to play here with the Caitlyn. Would be interesting to see what style support they actually want to pair up with this to try to really dominate against that Ezreal. And if jungle does get locked in here, they're saving their support pick for last, so Vulcan may have a surprise in store. But it definitely feels like TL should know where they're being led, and will they go to that, and will they be able to be successful with that Ezreal either way?
Well, it was double jungle bans coming out from Team Liquid, which will put Clutch Gaming into picking the Olaf there for Lira. So we'll see how that early game jungle pressure and presence can work out for them. As Team Liquid says, you want us to pick Ezreal? We're not going to play your game. We're picking the Sivir.
Yeah, you can see DoubleLift having a little bit of a laugh about it. You know, was chatting pretty heavily with Kane there about what the pick would be, and I think this is, you know, a pretty intelligent one. Sivir is a bit down as far as the priority goes in pro play, but is seeing some play. It is actually the next most played marksman after Kai'Sa, Lucian, and Ezreal, but that is, you know, 8 games compared to like 30, right? So it's quite a bit down. That being said, is a strong scaling pick, has a tremendous amount of wave clear, and thus sometimes can be a lot harder to dominate, because oftentimes the way Caitlyn really is getting those advantages is by shoving in someone like Ezreal, working away on the turret, you know, pressuring through that, and Sivir is someone that with some items and some levels really can kind of stall out that game plan and clear out those waves.
And the final piece of the puzzle here will be Braum for Team Liquid, as that will be there to help sort of protect that Sivir that we know has no built-in flashes and dashes and escape mechanisms. So with the Braum there for the shield, that'll protect him a little bit better. And Clutch Gaming decides for the Lulu.
Yep. So this is definitely making a lot of sense with their game plan. You save the support pick for last. You go for something very lane dominant. The Lulu certainly should have priority over the Braum. If Clutch want to have success, I think their bottom lane has to be winning in the 2v2 certainly. And if they can accomplish that, if they can hold DoubleLift down, you look across the board, that's a lot of dive. That's a lot of ways to attack DoubleLift in the back, with Lissandra diving in, Rumble ultimate getting layered on top, the Ragnarok Olaf charging in, right? This is pretty powerful and very heavily targeted at the bottom lane. So that is the Clutch answer. That's how they say you beat Team Liquid.
Also worth pointing out, we did initially assume that the Akali would be going over to Jensen on the side of Team Liquid, but that will be piloted by Impact this game. Impact has always received praise in the past, most for his tank play, for his frontline performances. We'll see how he can do on this diver, on this backliner, on this assassin. Is using Prestige KDA Akali, so at least he's got the style points in
nice.
check. Yeah, he's gonna look nice while he does it, whether he brings it home or runs it down. At least he's gonna be looking cool doing it.
Yeah, he's gonna be looking good, and worth noting, it is the comment for Rumble. So,
okay.
You know, as expected.
They were thinking the same thing you were thinking.
Yeah, I do think it is, a pretty strong answer there. Guaranteed to land with the Harpoon. Some pretty cool interactions there with Rumble, also into the Akali. The Shroud does not offer a tremendous amount of defense against the Rumble, as the Flame Spitter will reveal your shadow, and you can just continue burning up the Akali even in that
Just always
Shroud.
click on where the shadow is. He'll keep the flamethrower pointed, and
Yep.
turns out when it doesn't protect you from anything that's not untargeted, or that's not targeted, all your untargeting abilities are really, really effective.
And that's everything except those overheated punches.
Yeah, okay, so you can't overheat punch the Akali, but everything else still works. I think I'll take that deal. Sounds like a pretty good one to me, but neither team is going to take any extra risks here at the start of the game. Level 1, line of scrimmage being drawn. It's Super Bowl Sunday. You got to draw the line of scrimmage sometimes. We'll see how that works out.
Freak already hit these jokes.
I still got to do them. Dang it,
Okay,
Freak doesn't get to monopolize everything.
That's true.
All right, let's see what Piglet decides to get into here this game. Like you said, this is going to be a player to watch. His performance is going to be very critical for both sides, depending on whether or not he's ahead or behind. Caitlyn, one of those champions that traditionally, too, when you look at the champion's performance in the past, lane bully, dips in the mid game, comes back once she has the 3 items, and then becomes that late game powerhouse. So if you don't have the good early game, if the mid game is even slower than you anticipate, that could really drag the team down.
Yeah, it really can slow things down. But I mean, if Clutch can get to these, these later stages, have a strong bottom lane duo, be winning down there, then their team fight is looking pretty damn good too, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of dive to attack DoubleLift. You have a Lulu who's incredibly adept at shutting down, these champions that want to dive in, such as the Akali, such as the Lee Sin, with Polymorph, the knockup from the ultimate, the shielding to protect them. That can be pretty difficult to answer. So I like a lot of what Clutch has done in the draft, but as we know, it's going to come down to execution.
Absolutely, and talking about execution, remember to keep your eyes on the men with the smites this game. We were talking so much about how yesterday's performances looked bad for Lira and good for Xmithie, and now Team Liquid's jungler is finding his way into the bottom lane very early. Flash is already going to be used on both sides. Damage coming through. First blood going out. Team Liquid catching in, but Huni's made his way into the bottom lane, looking to grab one in return. Xmithie barely getting himself away. Lira wants to move in with the undertow, and he'll find it. He'll ask him a question, and that's 1 for 1.
Nicely done, trading back there, but it is an expensive trade as Huni has the TP and flash down there to the bottom lane. And you can see Impact actually is setting up a soft freeze, so he's trying to deny a lot of the experience and minions away. It is the buff transfer though, and Lira is going to be feeling pretty good about that.
Let's take another look at this. Xmithie going for the early gank here right after the red.
Yeah, this is really intelligent target selection. This is something that perhaps Clutch should have been more aware of, the potential of that level 2 gank, but without the leash, they weren't expecting it. The early TP coming down from Huni. They proc the Braum stun very quickly to try to peel for him, but in goes Huni, hits the auto, the axe comes through, and they are able to clean that up. And we'll have to see, was that worth the investment? Because Lira got ahead, Huni got put behind, and the bot lane is feeling pretty good about that from TL.
And when we look back earlier, just a week ago at the start of the season, what we were hearing from the players, from the teams, Huni's talking about how it's not just the Huni show anymore. It's about how Huni can enable the team. And sacrificing the state of your own lane to make sure things stay in equilibrium bottom does look like that new leaf turning over for Huni.
Yeah, I think that's actually an excellent point, especially when you're considering what we talked about it as kind of win conditions and draft conditions. They put the support as the 5th pick. They pick up this Caitlyn. They're clearly trying to win the game, through this bot lane strategy. So, you don't want to abandon ship on your bottom lane when they're still level 1 and just dying to this game.
2 minutes into the game. Sorry, guys. Plan's done. Scrap it. Huni's going to try to 1v9 now. No, he sticks to it. The team works together. It's all about the unit, not every single part of it, making sure that they're just playing for themselves. I like the teamwork, the camaraderie there. And you can see in the jungle, Lira off to a very solid farm advantage over his opponent here as well. And the Olaf just very good at clearing through the jungle early on.
Yeah, and critically, Huni, he was actually able to hold the wave a bit. So Impact didn't get to fully reset the waves. That means that Impact has to commit his TP to actually bounce the wave, shove it in. And Huni was able to hold that well enough that he picked up quite a bit of farm. Yes, he's still going to be a bit behind, but this is not any sort of monumental lead by any means.
I mean, you've got a cannon minion still alive for each side, 1 extra minion alive on the side of Huni, so he's going to be either 5 or 6 down. That's 1 wave, but for equalizing bottom and making the play happen, I'd say that's a worthwhile trade. Yeah,
definitely well handled, especially when you take into consideration the jungle lead, right? There's the early Predator boots are complete. A challenging smite grabbed up here for Lira, so we'll see if he can get active and try to get down, maybe attack the bottom lane, who does have a flashless support. That's someone that you maybe want to try to go for, but so far, Piglet and Vulcan working away on those turret plates, almost have their first down, but they are going to have to be careful when you do get close to that turret, that CoreJJ is not hopping forward onto a minion and they're getting all in.
Here's what I like to see, too, coming out from the Olaf. We all know that if Olaf doesn't get off to a good start in the early game, come mid-game, come late game, he's just going to be a melee minion with a legendary skin. That's not what you want. Instead, he's going for the Drake, getting his team those early damage bonuses, taking good use of the fact that he is playing a fantastic early game champion, and that is going to be a great pickup there for the side of Clutch Gaming. Lira securing that one by himself, sub 6 minutes.
Yeah, very smart stuff. Damonte shoves in the mid lane. Bot lane had pushed in while he was doing that also, and then did go to reset. So certainly, had full command on that side of the map, and Xmithie even showing topside made it that much safer. So good early moves here from Clutch, despite the fact that TL is still at a gold advantage, thanks to the farm in the top lane and that first blood that did go their way also.
First blood plus assist money, it all goes in there. Team Liquid, very scary team to have to deal with. Xmithie trying to steal away some chickens here, build up a little bit more money, but Lira says no thank you, sir. As Damonte gets himself away from Jensen here in the mid lane. Both mid laners going to be very hard to kill this game because you've got the built-in revive on Jensen when he goes into the World Ender. You've also got the state of Aftershock Lissandra, where once she has the Zonias, you've got 2.5 seconds of Aftershock, 2.5 seconds of ulti, 2.5 seconds of Zonias. It's just so hard to kill. Damonte will be yoinked back in there by the chains, but he's fine.
I actually really love this roam from CoreJJ, and I think it's much less about getting a kill and more about allowing Jensen to get a good reset. So you can see that Damonte did an early base, picked up double Dark Seal, TP's back to lane, and he was trying to lock Jensen in that lane, keep him under his turret, so he couldn't actually reset and buy. CoreJJ moving up, getting that additional pressure onto Damonte, means that Jensen would have a much easier time pushing this in and going back to buy. So, nice small thing, but will get him a good reset because he's playing Ignite and does kind of need that help to do so.
And that's one thing that's really interesting about the jungle role when you compare what you see in most people's solo queue games compared to what you see in pro play. So many people think, oh, good gank gets a kill, bad gank doesn't get a kill. That's a difference. That's a line that we draw. But so often the ganks are just there to make sure that people can breathe easier, can have a better time, be more comfortable in their itemization choices, be more comfortable in their position in the lane. And when you do that, that just makes everything easier for everyone later on. Their teammate is going to be that much more effective because he wasn't disturbed by what you were talking about with that extra pressure hitting him in the mid lane. As we can see, the gold still about 700-800 apart, but there is that Infernal Drake on the side of Clutch Gaming, which will mean more and more as the game goes on. Vulcan and Piglet being shoved back underneath their own turret here. One thing to also keep in mind this game, there is the extra combat summoner spell in the 2v2 on the bottom side for Clutch Gaming with the heal on Piglet compared to the TP on DoubleLift. Piglet going back now, not having that teleport means he will have to hoof it back to the bottom lane as the minions crash into the turret.
Yeah, and we can see that Lira is kind of wrapping around here on the bottom side. Potentially could look for something. There are some pings there. There's a ward behind also. They could commit Huni's TP if they want. TL is being a bit wary and will back off very likely now seeing Lira, so they're not actually going to commit to the play, but that would have been the TP ward that just expired right there.
Clutch Gaming not wanting to overcommit to something like this. They recognize that sometimes it's not the play that you don't make that messes you up, it's the play that you do. It's the wrong call. Huni having to flash away topside. Xmithie makes his way up there. Would have had the kick ready to go. So Huni recognizes that it's time to get the hell out of dodge. Mid lane, Jensen feeling good now, feeling comfortable after he got to get back to the
Damonte.
to Dirk. Damonte is going to be taken very low, but Lira shows up, chops him down. You're going to see the World Ender bring Jensen back at about 300 HP. Does get hit by another undertow. Lira not going to go back in there just yet. Doesn't want to go any further with Xmithie right there.
Yeah, and Lira showing a tremendous amount of respect to Jensen. People know this guy as someone who has incredibly fast reactions. He could try to flash in and finish him off, but if Jensen reaction flashes and then Xmithie is there to answer, maybe it gets turned around and turns a little bit ugly. That being said, there is the argument that maybe it was a bit too much respect because Lira still did have his ultimate available. Maybe that's a fight he wins.
Well, that's just one of the questions that will not be answered this game.
That's
what
true.
would have happened, right? I mean, that's the choice you make. Hindsight's 20/20.
Yep.
Maybe they'll look back at the end of the game and be like, oh, that was the right call, or oh, that was the wrong call. But right now, that's what Lira went for. We talked about him having a rough game yesterday. Sometimes when we see players have a rough game one day, the next day they are going to be more risk-averse to make sure that they don't put themselves, and especially their team, in a worse-off position because of their own decision-making solely.
Yeah, that mindset really can affect you sometimes negatively when you maybe do need to have that killer instinct. If the day before things did not go your way, maybe you're going to be a bit more passive. But either way, it's hard to know if it would have worked out regardless. So they still do get the ultimate out of Jensen. They do not blow any summoners. They ignite down on Jensen there too. So they could look to actually attack him again before the ultimate is up. And that is the safer and more guaranteed play that it seems they want to go for.
Still a 1-to-1 game. Nobody looking to get too bloody here early on in it. The second Drake is live. We saw the first one picked up very early by Clutch Gaming. The Ocean only having just now spawned. Flash out from Jensen there in the mid lane. World Ender still about 1/3 off the cooldown, so had to spin the summoner or risk being taken down.
Yeah, Jensen should have actually seen him on the pink ward that they have, though, up by that red banana brush. So he should have been able to see Lira walking by the Raptor pit, and I think maybe just lost focus there, too focused on the 1v1 matchup to actually catch him going by. So does cost him his summoner, and Lira over onto the dragon, looking to pick up a second one.
But here comes Xmithie, a man known for his smites. We'll see if he can make the magic happen. Control ward is going to be placed down in the pit to keep him blind, true to the nature of Lee Sin, but it's an easy secure for Clutch Gaming. Not at a 6-minute Ocean Drake. Normally the Oceans feel really good if you get them right at the start of the laning phase, so not quite as juicy as it would have otherwise been. However, Clutch Gaming still makes sure they're in complete control of those neutral objectives so far. Nobody has taken Shelly. She is on the table. We'll see if attention turns to that anytime soon. Topside, still about a 20 CS lead for Impact, who has never lost control after his initial bump that he got when his opponent had a TP at level 1.
Yep, been looking pretty good up there, and we'll see how he's going to perform into the team fights, right? That is kind of, I think, where Akali gets a lot more complex.
Oh, here we go. Glacial Fissure coming down. Piglet going to be in some trouble. Wild Growth comes out, but it's going to be only wild enough for Team Liquid to grab the kill anyway. Huni making his way into the bottom lane, looking for revenge here yet again. DoubleLift going to be taken very low, almost taken down. Huni taken very low now as well. He's going to grab himself the kill on the enemy AD carry. It's actually Lira picking it up. CoreJJ barely getting away. Huni walking away with just a sliver of health, and it's another 1-for-1.
Yeah, the double TP coming up big there for Clutch as they're able to answer with additional members, and I'm not sure TL was actually expecting that to be 2 guys coming through, as it seemed like Xmithie was going up into the river as the TP was coming in. Maybe just thought it was 1 man teleporting in. Jensen is able to get at least 1 turret plate there because he cannot match the roam, so if you're going to be that late, pushing it up is the better play. Deny some of those minions. Now grabbing even a second turret plate for himself, so going to be getting a nice little chunk of change.
And that sort of surprise element is one of my favorite things in the game that you can do with any summoner spell, is the fact that 2 teleports looks exactly like 1, and you can layer them on top of each other just to grab that extra surprise. Jensen taken down to about 300 HP, still going back in on Damonte, recognizing that he does not have his ultimate. Jensen makes sure to eat the extra tower shot just so he gets the bonus HP from the World Under Res. No reason not to, and he'll head back to base. Let's take another look at the bot lane play.
Yeah, this is just really nice from CoreJJ. You'll see he's waiting for the cannon minion. They back up. He pops to the cannon minion as Piglet steps forward, nails the ultimate, nails the Q, and Piglet goes down without really being able to do anything. And then this is where I was a little bit confused. Xmithie's going up into the river. I do think he was expecting one teleport to come through and perhaps not two. Either way, they are able to pick up DoubleLift. You can see Huni barely sneaking out with a sliver of health there. It is the 1-for-1, but more committed from the clutch side. And you have to say, the bottom lane has not really been paying off. It is DoubleLift up a couple of CS, and they have done a pretty good job of actually protecting that turret on the bottom side. It is actually more healthy than the Clutch Gaming turret, so that does not bode incredibly well for how this could look going forward.
Plus, I gotta give props to Team Liquid. You're 2,500 gold up on the TL side right now just from farming, because there's no turrets taken on either side. There's 2 kills on both sides. Yeah. They are managing to slowly but steadily increase this gold lead, and if that keeps bleeding out like that, Clutch is gonna hit a point where they're like, wait, these fights can't go even anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Clutch, I think, is having good responses. Their teleports have been nice to the bottom side to try to protect them, but it's always felt like it's TL making the initial play. They're first to make the move, and it's kind of costing them less oftentimes, right? Yeah. If they have one member TPing down there and they trade 1-for-1 versus the 2 from the other side. You know, it's Xmithie getting that level 2 gank that gets a kill, and Huni having to give up a lot to answer. So, you know, Clutch is doing a good job kind of trying to go punch for punch, but it seems like TL is having more land.
Now Team Liquid recognizing their opportunity to finally grab one of those neutral objectives. Xmithie moving into the Rift Herald pit to try to grab this one. Also want to point out he does have the stopwatch here on the Lee Sin, so he'll be able to jump into the next fight with absolute reckless abandon to go for a kick. As we can see, Clutch Gaming not able to move in time there to grab that eyeball. Turret plates, you can see 3 taken for the side of Liquid, 2 for the side of Clutch Gaming. Roughly 2 plates is equal to a kill.
Yep.
So considering Team Liquid got 2 more plates, it's essentially like the kill score is 3-2.
Yep, and Jensen was actually the one who picked up 2 of those plates right in the mid lane off of the last TP from Damonte, right? So despite the fact that they traded back a kill with the double TP, you could say that's equalized from the turret plates and some of the farm and experience loss as well.
I actually really do like the turret plating addition to the game in general. It adds an extra element to consider as CoreJJ. Gonna have to consider the life decisions that brought him to this point in the river right now, as he eats quite a lot of damage there from the jungle and mid lane combination of Clutch Gaming, but he'll still walk away just fine.
And it's times like this that you're glad you're not a Soraka in that.
Oh, absolutely. You got a big old shield you can throw up, not worry too much. If that was a banana instead of a shield, you would have been one dead dude. But Clutch Gaming not able to pick that one up for themselves. Still sitting about 2,500 gold behind. Xmithie is going to drop a long-range Rift Herald.
Huh.
I'm not sure if that was intentional.
I think it is. They're trying to actually make them respond to this so they can go to the dragon. That is what I see this as a move for. You try to force them over to this rift, you bring them down, but they're not actually making the move to the dragon, so now we're just going to try to escort it in and at least get the charge off. If you can defend the eye, you can likely do that, but as he turns around, there's the hit, and not going to get anything.
Taken down, no charge. Unfortunate use of the Rift Herald there. I had to question.
They start the dragon?
I had to question whether or not it was intentional because he was farming the Krug camp at the same time, and so many times I've seen junglers try to use trinkets.
Yeah.
When they had the Herald, but we're going to see the Sivir ultimate used. Team Liquid potentially on the hunt here, but instead just going to be forced away. Clutch Gaming holds control over the Drake Pit area for now. Scuttle Crab speed bonus shrine about to disappear. Infernal Drake has been aggroed. Piglet going to put a couple more bullets into that one, make sure that the fight continues. And it looks like Clutch Gaming is committed to this. Huni very high on the heat bar, up to about 80, 90, now dropping back down, trying to keep this managed, ready to drop that equalizer here in the fight. Xmithie comes over the wall, Infernal Drake still going to be taken very low. Who does it go to? It's going over to Team Liquid. Xmithie again, proving why this man is so good in the jungle.
Yeah, really well done. The Lee Sin certainly has the smite advantage there with the Q smite, does execute on it, and TL pushed out mid lane before even coming over, so they get kind of the best of both worlds there. But definitely a bit of a crazy series of events, as it looks like They're trying to at least threaten a dive, but Jensen gonna have to blow the ultimate at the very least here.
Jensen eating a lot of damage, instantly has to waste his res on the World Ender. It brings him back to life, it keeps him alive, but that means that there's no real ability for him to re-enter this fight, and Team Liquid's ability to force that now is completely gone. Clutch Gaming will hold the line and hold that mid turret.
Yeah, it all ended up kind of working out for TL, but you definitely can question the usage of the Rift Herald. You know, if you're not going to be able to get it to the turret, they should have just immediately started up the Dragon, and maybe they could have got it uncontested. And if, as you say, it was just an accidental usage, and that's definitely a blunder there from Xmithie, but going to be able to smite it away and atone for his sins regardless.
Exactly. He's paid his penance. He's got that Infernal Drake for the team, and that will equalize those Infernals between the two. Third Infernal is coming up next, so that'll probably be another point of contention between these two squads. As we are almost to the 20-minute mark, Team Liquid's lead still steadily but very slowly building up to about 3,000 gold now. Still no first turret, 19 minutes into the game. Clutch Gaming trying to force the issue here in the bottom side, recognizing their own tier 1 down here is about 10% HP, trying to take the Team Liquid structure first. Does not look like they'll be able to find it just yet. Yeah,
those Clutch Gaming towers are very low in mid and bot though. DoubleLift does decide to actually TP to mid lane to collect that farm, so we'll see if the Braum Akali duo is enough to actually keep that bottom lane turret alive and deny that first turret from going over to Clutch.
Clutch still trying to make it happen, but still being repelled time and again. DoubleLift and Xmithie hanging around down here too means Clutch decides it's time to just go ahead and give it up on this one. Do not want to try to commit 3 versus 4. Typically not a fight you want to be taking unless you're very far ahead, which Clutch is not at this point in time. Baron will be on the board here in about 20 seconds as Lira starts mopping up that blue buff to give it over to his mid laner in Damonte, who has maintained a very slight farm lead over his opponent in Jensen. But Jensen actually the man with the bounty because of the overall Team Liquid gold lead in the game, and TL will finally secure that first turret, bring that lead up to 4K.
And sometimes those bounties can be a little bit misleading, and you know, kind of how it works with the farm is it's essentially there's these time windows, and if you heavily out farm the average within that time window, even if you're not in the overall game way ahead, that can actually create a bounty. So I'm willing to bet that when the double TP down the bottom lane happened, Jensen was actually getting more than enough farm during that time because everyone else went to the bot lane. He continued farming it out by himself in the mid lane and got plates, and that's probably, you know, that period where he actually created the bounty for himself.
Looking at items coming online across the board, you're also seeing the Ghost Blade completed for Jensen, working on the Black Cleaver, Redemption for the Olaf, that new age Olaf build coming out of the Korean meta that we've seen sort of just take over on this champion. Leandry's done on Rumble, big team fighting item there for him, as well as the Gunblade plus the Oblivion Orb. Took a little bit of a nerf, but the item's still very effective as a cheap power spike for AP champions, as mid lane finds itself under siege once again by Team Liquid, who look to build that lead. So often these days we're seeing teams sort of not do anything in the mid game. Teams want to wait, stall things out. Just let me get to 4 items, bro. Don't worry about it. Team Liquid does not want to be one of those teams.
Yeah, and they are very good at being able to actually continually increase those advantages. They are looking up to the top side here for Damonte.
Jensen going in. Damonte will go ahead, pop the ultimate here. Jensen, World Ender still building up in the Bloodwell. Huni's made his way into the top lane now, looking to find some further damage onto both members of Team Liquid. Jensen's World Ender will expire. Xmithie going in, making a kick back onto Huni, who will be taken low. Xmithie going into the stasis. That's why I called it out earlier. It is a game changer, and Xmithie will grab himself a kill.
Just beautiful play there from Xmithie. The kick flash, getting a kill onto Huni after he had TP'd in, and they're going to be able to take the top lane turret. But Clutch do fight back, knocking down one of their own in the mid lane, and we'll see if TL want to continue this push. They do still have 3 members in the area, but 2 are low.
It is still a gold lead building for Liquid. 4,500 now. Every time I check in, it's another 400 or 500 more than it was before. I said Clutch Gaming needed to staunch the bleeding. They don't have any gauze. They don't have any medical supplies. They're trying to do it with a Kleenex or something. It just doesn't work. This team has got to find a way to stop these leads from building. Let's take another look at how the kill happens.
And here it is one more time. Again, TL first to make the play. This has been the big pattern throughout the game. As I said, Clutch responding well to plays. The TP is available. Huni comes in, but they have to already invest that resource. And then Jensen, the Bloodwell expires. Huni thinks he can maybe try to pick up 1 kill. But with the ultimate down, that is just clean from Xmithie. Q into the kick flash, knocks him back into the team, and able to grab up that kill as well as a turret. So Here goes Xmithie one more time. We need to see Clutch trying to find some plays of their own, trying to be the ones that are choosing the battlefield, so to speak, because it has been all Liquid getting to pick when they fight.
Well, this is a good spot for Clutch to potentially make something happen because these narrow corridors are great for a Caitlyn team. Lay down the entire bakery there in the cupcakes, block off the walkway, make it so your opponents cannot take that avenue of travel towards the objective. And when the objective is something big like that third and ever so important Infernal Drake, this can lead you into a good fight. They're still fighting an uphill battle. 4,500 gold separate them and Team Liquid, who are not willing to give this away for free. Remember, Xmithie stole away the last one. Liquid is confident in their jungler. They know he's got the ability to secure these, and Clutch knows that all too well as well. Backing off, not wanting to go for the 50-50. Oh, Team Liquid still thinking about how they want to go about doing this one. Clutch wondering when can we pull the trigger.
Yeah, and you can see both teams are trying to fight for mid lane control. Clutch moving over there, trying to respond as the wave have been pushing to them. Impact and Xmithie kind of staying over by this wave, but Clutch is the ones to gain mid lane control now. Damonte is pushing this in, so we'll see if TL try to force the issue. They may just look for the fight.
Here we go. Jensen popping the Ghost Blade, looking to go in here. Lira's going to be taken very low. Huni dropping the Equalizer down now into the river. Still low HP on the Clutch Gaming jungler. Huni trying to get himself away, will be able to escape the chains. But health bars are hurt on the side of Clutch Gaming. The Equalizer's been expended, but the catch is down onto Impact, and that's a pretty big pick. 5 versus 4 now for the side of Clutch Gaming. Impact has not been able to contribute anything. He's already been killed off, but now Clutch Gaming will be cut to pieces. Jensen will end their world, and that is a double kill over to the mid laner from Team Liquid.
What a huge play there from Jensen. It was a 5v4 from Clutch. You're thinking maybe TL has bit off more than they can chew here. Maybe this is the way in for Clutch, but not only do they grab the Infernal Dragon, Jensen gets them a couple kills to boot.
Aatrox does so much damn damage. Let's take another look at the fight.
Reminiscent almost of Shy there at Worlds, and you can see again, Huni looking for the Equalizer, does force the flash ult out of DoubleLift, so he has had to back off. Clutch still full mid lane control. You can see the wave on the turret, and Akali is going over to try to answer that, but it's a great pick. TL then make the call, commit to the dragon, burst it down, and then in goes Jensen. Double knockup, connecting on 3 members with that one, and then the third Q not even needed. He just chops them down.
What a play coming out from Jensen. Go ahead, make sure you tweet us too at LOL Esports. When you see somebody spread their wings, grab that giant sword, and just bring the heavens down on their opponents. Let us know with hashtag LCS Big Plays,
oh, yeah,
so we can make sure we get all the greatest moments here as well. But now back to live. It's a 6,000 gold lead for the side of Team Liquid. The advantages continue to build. The passive advantage in the Infernal Drake count now favors them as well because of their neutral objective control after that first 10 minutes of the game. And we're getting to the point now, Azael, where if you're Clutch Gaming, you start to wonder, what is still left for us to decide? Because Team Liquid feels firmly in the drivers.
Yeah, they're the ones really dictating the pace of the game. They're the ones who seem to always be pushing out the lanes first, making the move to the play first, and really credit to them for being able to pull that off. But Clutch does still have strong late game. Lulu, Caitlyn, if you can actually get to that late game stage, is incredibly powerful. Rumble and Lissandra going to be very strong there as well. So there is a lot of power still left in the tank. And Lira, while he does fall off, he's building Redemption. And I'm guessing the Kindle Gem is going to be a Knight's Vow. So he's kind of trying to make up for that with utility.
All the eggs in the Piglet basket. But the thing is, it's like I said at the very beginning of the game, if Caitlyn doesn't have the great early game, that power trough in the mid game is even deeper. And right now, she's scraping the bottom of the barrel of it, considering she's still 2.5 items compared to when you look across the board at DoubleLift. He's got the full 3 already assembled. He's up almost 2,000 gold over his counterpart just individually, and that's quite a hill to climb for the side of Clutch Gaming. We'll see how they can do it, but Baron is now also got to be on the minds of everyone on the Rift here today, because that will be where you see attention turn too soon. Once you start to get more close to that 30-minute mark, it becomes that much easier to take it down. When your AD carry's got 3 items, when you've got a damage-heavy composition like this, ooh, it's scary. Top lane tier 2. Being targeted now as well by the side of Team Liquid. CoreJJ getting himself in a fight. 1 versus 3. 2 Redemption called down as Piglet's going to be in some trouble. Vulcan also taken very low. The Clutch Gaming AD carry's already been popped. Damonte will grab a return kill onto Xmithie as Lira will go down. The double kill over to Impact before he falls. It is a 2 for 3, a triple kill for Impact. Damonte and Huni looking to clean up Jensen and CoreJJ if they can find them. DoubleLift still at the enemy red buff, looking to rejoin the fight if possible.
Yeah, Impact with a beautiful flank there, getting himself the triple as CoreJJ started it off. It was a one-man army, 1v5 in the jungle, and they make it work. Do trade up on the play still, 3 for 2 with all 3 kills going the way of Impact. And I think bad does get to worse when you look over and you see that Infinity Edge done over on the Sivir, and you see plays like this as it is 3 members coming forward. CoreJJ starts it off knowing that Impact is over behind him. Impact going to be able to ult through multiple members, takes down Piglet, goes forward to be able to finish off with a flash ulti there onto Lulu. Gets one more as he goes down with his dying breath there, and Damonte looking for more here, but not able to get it. And when I look at Damonte's build, the Void Staff is a question mark for me because the only MR that's really been built up had been the Merc Treads. Yes, now there's a QSS, but that was a second item Void Staff Rush, and that does reduce your playmaking ability when you're looking over at something that it could have been, such as Azonia's building towards that. When there is a lot of damage coming out, and that would allow you to maybe dive in and make something happen a bit more.
A little bit of a number crunch for everybody out there watching right now. Void Staff is very cost ineffective in terms of just the AP it provides. For the magic penetration to make the item exactly 100% efficient, which is around where most items are, you need to be hitting a target with slightly over 90 magic resist. The members of Team Liquid average somewhere between 65 and 80 magic resistance currently, so no matter which one you're hitting, the item is not cost effective at the current point in time. Yes, you can say you're building it for later on when more magic resistance comes in, but it goes back to what you're saying. As this game gets further and further out of your hands, can you afford to make an investment for 10 minutes into the future when you might be 15K behind at that point?
Yeah, it's tough to know. Some of the items are even significantly above 100% cost efficient. So
right.
You're fighting up against what is kind of an uneven playing field. But we will see what Clutch can pull off as they are falling further and further behind. You feel like they need to make some sort of proactive move because TL has not been the team to really make mistakes. And waiting for them, sitting back and hoping they give you an opening, I think is a quick way to exit this game with a loss.
Team Liquid continuing to look like the #1 team in the LCS here in Spring Split 2019. We'll see if they can take control over the Baron Pit here soon as Clutch Gaming will move out in the mid lane. Damonte shadowing behind the rest of the squad. Just in case Liquid initiates, he wants to be able to jump in with the claw, lock down whoever goes in first. Xmithie in the meantime will make sure that Team Liquid maintains absolute control over the Baron Pit. Clutch Gaming. They're trying to rotate through their own jungle, but you can just see the measured movements. The fact that Piglet has to put down a trap in every single brush. They've got to be so careful even in their own jungle, it seems.
Yeah, and I mean, they're losing this wave. A lot of it has been kind of dying to that inhibitor tower because they know they can't risk giving up the Baron. That would be kind of the death blow there. So Clutch moved intelligently as a squad forward. Remember, they do not have a tank support who can just face check this. It is a Lulu, so you have to group up. You have to walk in with the Olaf first and try to reclaim that vision. Deny TL from really taking over that quadrant, or it'll be too easy for them to grab the Baron. Too easy for them to close out this game.
More heavy damage itemization coming in here as well from the side of Team Liquid. Duskblade onto Jensen, going for the double lethality. Not an item you traditionally see a ton of on Aatrox. Definitely not a staple item like the Ghostblade and the Cleaver are. But if you want to one-shot somebody, double lethality is an easy way to do it, especially if you can get the unseen damage bonus, just pop out of the brush on the flank and manage to hit someone.
Exactly, and I mean, that in combination with the Deathbringer stance, that first auto, that hurts.
First auto's going to hit for 4 digits. You're just going to wonder what the hell happened.
Yeah, I have seen these builds. You take out the Black Cleaver, you add in a Stormrazor, and the first auto just like one-shots you. So you got to watch out.
Got to be careful for those ones. All right, Clutch Gaming. You got to be aware of this. You know it's double lethality. You know it's a Team Liquid squad with a 9K gold lead. You know things are getting dire. What do you do at this point? Because Team Liquid will just keep knocking these structures over if you give them the chance. Clutch will continue to hold the line here for now, but you can see they've got one ward down around the tier 1 turret ruins of their opponents in the mid lane, which, by the way, is the only turret Clutch Gaming have taken the entire game. Feels bad, man. But that is the only ward they have past their own half of the map.
Yeah.
Things are really in a defensive posture for these guys. They have no ability to pressure anything.
And it is a solid ward if you were to look for a TP flank. If TL is actually pushing up for that tier 2, and that may be somewhat the thought process there, but TL definitely has the vision control, a couple things over by that Baron pit, 3 to be exact, and they are stacking up item after item. DoubleLift goes back and buys up a full Mortal Reminder, so he's essentially full build at this point. Yes, you can complete the QSS, but he's not getting a tremendous amount stronger, and Piglet still has quite a bit of work to do to catch up. He will have a lot of protection. There's double redemption, there is a nice vow, so that is quite a bit of peel in addition to that Lulu, but we'll see if it'll be enough, and if he's going to be able to pump out enough damage with the Akali and the Aatrox and Lee all threatening and running at him to really match this Sivir.
And I really like Mortal Reminder here as well. When you're up against champions that can heal so much, like Lissandra, like Olaf, like anybody on a team with 2 redemptions, being able to cut the healing in half, very, very useful. I actually think that Grievous Wounds is criminally underrated, even in pro play still. I sometimes see a game where you have multiple sources of healing and not enough Grievous Wounds on the other side, and you're just thinking, you can do so much if you would just buy this thing.
Yep.
Really like seeing the fact that Team Liquid has both that and the Morello Nomicon on Impact Akali there in the top lane, who, by the way, currently has a 700 bounty of his own, doing pretty well on this champion that, as we commented at the beginning of the game, stylistically a departure from what we normally like to see Impact on.
Yeah, but has been performing well. He's up against Huni, who is known for those carry versus carry matchups, and Impact's doing a great job. Here goes the
Oh, CoreJJ going in, looking for the Glacial Fissure. It's going to be Lira having to pop the Ragnarok, but Piglet has been popped himself. Clutch Gaming's already lost their AD carry. What other cost will this fight carry? It looks like it might be Huni on the bottom side. Impact going into the stasis to just make sure he keeps himself safe, as that is the sign for Team Liquid to go for Baron. They say we're 10,000 gold ahead, you're 80 carries in the dirt, we are taking this Baron, and this could be the death knell for Clutch Gaming.
Yeah, and it should be their Baron. They're going to TP in and try to actually contest it. We'll see if they can make anything happen here, though.
It's a Rumble with no ult. What's he going to do?
Yeah,
Menacingly look at you while you take it. This is not a play that's going to work out too well for Clutch. They spin the teleport, they get nothing out of it, and Team Liquid goes home with those amazing purple symbols swirling all around them, ready to make the push, and it will be nigh impossible for Clutch Gaming to resist.
It's going to be so tough. They're already in such a strong position. I've done such a good job kind of strangling Clutch out of this game very, very slowly, and now with all the additional power from the Baron, double Infernal, as all this damage being built up, they're going to be so incredibly strong and could look to close it out.
And talking about Team Liquid, we introduced this set by talking about how this team is the #1 team in the league. They look like the #1 team in the league. People were expecting them to be the #1 team in the league. And when you're expected to be #1, what I look for is, okay, now what tells me you are truly great instead of just better than everyone else? And the #1 thing I look for to make a team better than good is a clean finish. With this lead, Team Liquid should end the game on this Baron. Let's see if they can find it. Xmithie will be kept alive. Good teamwork there, making sure that the jungler doesn't get taken down. Huni's already going to be eliminated. So much damage coming out from DoubleLift. Jensen wants to go into the middle of everyone, able to find a little bit of damage. But Damonte stays alive with the stasis. CoreJJ having to go into it himself to keep himself alive. Damonte brought down next. Piglet going to evaporate under the might of the boomerangs from DoubleLift. Team Liquid, 3 down on the side of Clutch Gaming. They should do exactly what I just proclaimed and find that win right here.
Yeah, that's going to do it here. Can easily end through top. No chance for Olaf and Lulu to hold on against 5 TL members looking to stay undefeated.
It looks like 4-0 is not just the dream, it's the reality. Here for the predicted best team in spring 2019, Team Liquid makes it look easy and take down Clutch Gaming 36 minutes in.
A very clean game here from TL, showcasing some different play styles, some different champions as well. Impact able to bring out the carry, looking good on the Akali, and DoubleLift, I do think they were trying to draft him into a corner there, trying to get out the Ezreal perhaps. The Sivir worked out incredibly well. They kept their turret alive. Good early pressure from Xmithie, good early moves to that bottom side. I think really set up the Sivir for success, and in that late game, it really paid off.
They're trying to draft him into a corner. I'm just thinking it looks like an episode of an old Scooby-Doo thing. They just run under the guy's legs and get out of the corner. It's not that big of a deal. DoubleLift getting himself the Sivir, staying away from that sort of trap that Clutch Gaming set. And Clutch just could not find the advantages you said they needed on that Caitlyn and Lulu early on in the game. Yes, we saw some team play from Huni, the level 1 teleport, putting himself behind in his own lane to make sure bottom lane stayed equal. But this was just a showing of how high caliber the players on Team Liquid are. DoubleLift's ability to outperform, out-farm, and out-carry Piglet, as well as Xmithie's just general jungle presence. The objective steals are always there with this guy. Liquid's looking fierce.
Yeah, they really are. And honestly, I think Clutch played a solid game. I think they had an intelligent game plan coming in. I think everything was pretty good, but Liquid just did it that much better. You know, the biggest difference here was both teams were playing well together overall. Both teams had a good game plan, but TL was always first to the punch. They were always the ones forcing the issue, always the ones forcing the fight. And it was Clutch who constantly had to respond and was just a little bit behind on every play, which slowly built up and built up and built up.
Proactivity is a hell of a drug. And to give us more on the victory that Team Liquid just claimed, Avali is standing by with the Team Liquid jungler.
Thank you, Flowers. Xmithie, congratulations on the win. 4-0 for Team Liquid and 4 great games of Lee Sin for you. Are we looking at your new signature champion?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't even need to go to our pick and ban phase anymore. My coach just tells me, you're going to play Lee Sin tomorrow, so I just go sleep.
That's what makes Kane the best coach. But looking at the pick a little bit more, what about that champion enables you to do what you need to do for the team?
I think it's just a pretty versatile champion. Lee Sin doesn't really need to make plays early, but he can also. Yeah, especially that game, we tried to make an early game play. It didn't really went into my favor, but on my team, like top lane was really screwed at the beginning.
And Team Liquid is sitting really pretty at the top of the standings right now. So when you guys are in that position, where do you look for improvement?
I think our biggest opponent for now is just ourselves, just trying to improve on our mistakes. Every time we win, like we still need to make a lot of improvement. And yeah, it's just up to our coaching staff to make that happen.
And for you personally, are there any junglers or teams out there that you are excited to play against?
Right now, not anyone specifically. Yeah, I think we're just mainly focusing on ourselves.
Xmithie, thank you so much and congratulations again. That's it for us here. Back to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avli. Team Liquid continue to impress as they move to 4-0. It was mentioned 4 games of Lee Sin for Xmithie there. He hasn't been made to play anything else. And I think the Lee Sin's been paying dividends for this team.
I don't think he's ever going to need to play anything else. No one's going to throw bans at his Lee Sin, probably, because there's so many other threats on the team at this point.
Right.
So pretty standard team comp for the most part again here. The Sivir was the most interesting thing for me.
Well, that's because there's a lot of AD carry bans, right? And then, like, what do you pick into Sivir? I think the only options was, like, Ezreal, Draven, or Sivir. And then Sivir with TP is the best one out of those ones, so... Well, Azael too, but he's so weak for Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that Clutch Gaming is going for is clearly, like, the hold DoubleLift down. He's their win condition, so we'll take Caitlyn, hold your support for last pick, so they get the double range, and they want to push in and camp while they also get some counter picks in the top lane.
Yeah.
It's like the idea that Clutch went for, I actually thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like the idea.
I think some people are going to look at this game and they go, it wasn't as exciting or explosive, and even in some ways didn't feel as close as it could have been. But I personally really enjoyed this game, and I'll tell you why in a moment, because this is perhaps one of the most impactful plays of the game was the early level 2 gank from Xmithie towards the bot lane.
If you're ever playing a squishy mage that's going for a high priority lane, the most important thing you can do is not die and lose your summoners, because even though that ends up trading 1-for-1 with the TP, your Lulu never feels safe the rest of the game to walk forward and actually harass under a turret or anything. So the laning phase was almost completely over in the bot lane, and that was the main win condition for this Clutch Gaming comp.
As well, you forced Huni to come TP down, which means he's sacking XP and gold to impact in the top lane and already putting him in kind of a funky position for his lane matchup.
Well, I'm gonna say that TP was a bit questionable from Huni, like a level 2 teleport. It kind of worked out. It really didn't for him though. Like, you're putting all your eggs into that basket, they're already messed up. In the future, just drop a level 2 ward and make sure that doesn't happen in the end anyway. And that's the main thing out of it.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that Clutch Gaming could have done in-game to make their draft work a little bit better. Like, the fact that they ended up so invested in Piglet, but then didn't actually have any advantage. They lost the turret in the bot lane first. Like, at that point, once it got to team fighting, like, your Caitlyn is behind the Sivir when that comp really only works with the Caitlyn ahead.
Right. So this is where I want to go back to kind of reasons why I enjoyed the game, or at least the premise that I kind of built in my own head and I was explaining to you guys, is to me it felt like Team Liquid came into this game saying, we know for a fact we are the better team, right? And we're going to draft towards that. We're going to give ourselves the bridge champion in Lee Sin, someone who can help us kind of stem from early game to late game and eventually just win those 5v5s with better team fighting, better coordination, better players, whatever. We draft the Sivir because it's the best option for making sure we don't fall into such a deep hole against what seems to be the primary win condition for Clutch Gaming is an early lead in the bot lane. But I enjoyed the fact that Clutch, in a sense, called them on that premise in Champion Select, saying, fine, if you really believe you're the better team, we're going to go completely to the opposite direction and try and punish you for believing that. It did not happen in this case. Yes, the execution on that, early focus wasn't there. But I appreciate that somebody is saying, all right, if Team Liquid thinks they're the best late, and maybe we even think they're going to beat us late, let's really go in the other direction and try and challenge them and throw them off kilter.
Well, it was more about that they feel as Team Liquid's a bottom lane center focused team, right? So their entire game plan is like, we're going to pick the stronger 2v2 and we're just going to crush you guys. That faltered, and then the game plan is out the window, right? It's not about the better late game. It's more about your win condition is playing through either Jensen or DoubleLift, and recently it's been DoubleLift. So we're going to put our win condition in Piglet and show that he's better. And then it just didn't work out. The level 2 gank made it really rough, and then DoubleLift just played that lane really well after with CoreJJ as well, with the ganks and just hitting him with skill shots.
Right, I mean, they still had the counter pick on Akali with the Rumble, which we've seen from Crown yesterday absolutely crush that lane, and that was the potential other win condition they had was Huni beating Impact, which I think most people would agree Huni's the better laner and can get the better of him. But sometimes. But as soon as you blow your TP down to the bot lane, that's not going to happen. So it was like it was a double penalty almost in the bot lane.
But again, that's early to mid versus late, right? I mean, Rumble is better or stronger in the early and mid game, and so it's Clutch doubling down on that fact as opposed to saying, hey, let's go early focus in the bot lane, but let's take tons of late game insurance across the rest of the map so that we still can't contest in the late game. They just doubled down on their bet, and their bet was wrong. Kind of like you guys did with Golden Guardians on the LCS.
I didn't double down ever on Golden Guardians. I tried to get off that ship ASAP. The rules just mean I can't.
Yeah, you're trapped with your investment, right? Like I was trapped with 100 Thieves.
Can anyone beat Team Liquid? That's my final question here. Based on the way they look through 2 weeks, do you think anyone's going to take this team down?
I think it might be more of a thing when rather not who will beat them, but who they'll lose to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was saying when we have the overreactions to the top of the day. It's like, who can field a better roster than this realistically this year? Like,
probably no one.
Probably no one. It's so hard to make mid-season upgrades, but that doesn't mean Team Liquid's never going to lose.
They'll falter at some point. It's a matter of when and where and who against. For Game 4, TSM and FlyQuest square off on Summoner's Rift. We'll see you back here in just a bit.